What is good, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Pull Up. As always, I am your host, Tony Ramsey, giving you a quick recap of last night's NBA action. Some pretty good games on the schedule, so without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump into it. First game we'll talk about here will be last night's game between the Raptors and the Celtics in Boston. This is a game that most people think is going to be a Eastern Conference Finals preview. I agree with that standpoint. I think these are going to be the two top teams in the East when the season is all said and done. Boston ran away with this one 123-116 in overtime behind 43 points and 11 assists from Kyrie Irving. Kawhi Leonard did chip in 31 points and 15 rebounds for the Raptors in this loss. Raptors are now 12-4 on the season, with the Celtics now 9-6. Looks like they've made a pretty good rebound from their a little bit slower start. They are starting to figure out their roles. Kyrie is now going to be the closer, which he should be all along, and everyone else seems to be just falling in line their suit. Kyrie getting all the shots front. Then you have Jason Tatum backing him up as far as offensively, and everyone else is pretty much getting their points as they come off of those two players. Serge Ibaka did chip in with 21 points in this one for the Raptors. Pretty quiet game here for Kyle Lowry. He only had 14 points and 7 assists. I think this might only be the second or third game on the season where he has not had double-digit assists, and they did a pretty good job bottling him up for the Celtics. Kyrie did shoot 18-26 from the floor in this one for those 43 points. Looked like he can get any shot that he wanted, and he did score 23 points in the fourth quarter and overtime to propel Boston to the lead here. Again, this is what we're going to be seeing from these two teams as the season rolls along. They are the two best teams in the East. I think Philadelphia is a really close third behind the Celtics in this one. I think the Raptors right now are the cream of the East, with Boston and Philadelphia right behind them. Next up for the Celtics will be the Utah Jazz, coming off a loss. We'll talk about that here in a minute. They'll be playing at Boston tonight at 7:30. For the 12-4 Raptors, they visit Chicago to take on the Bulls. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers winning a home game against the Miami Heat. The Pacers are now 9-6 on the season. Miami are now 6-9, dropping 3 games below 500. Something interesting for Miami. I think they need one more bona fide scorer. A lot of people are going to hate this take, but I think they should make a run at Carmelo Anthony. He is friends with Dwayne Wade. And Miami is just lacking another dominant scorer that can get them shots in the fourth quarter, can create their own shot. Whereas Miami, they do play pretty strong defense. So when you put a scorer in there that can get his own buckets, they should be in pretty good shape here. Get them back out of this 3-game hole that they're into to be now below 500. Pacers are now 9-6. Pretty quiet game here for their star Victor Oladipo, but they were led by 23 points for Tyreke Evans off the bench. Some more action last night. We did have Jimmy Butler's home debut for the 76ers against Utah. They're playing in Philly. The Sixers did lose their first game with Jimmy Butler earlier in the week, but now that they do have Butler here playing at home, they looked much better in this one. They did give up 31 points to Donovan Mitchell, but it did take him 35 shots to get those 31 points, and he also did not have one single assist. Pretty rare to see someone score that many points, take that many shots, and not have an assist at all. Donovan Mitchell can score, but he is prone to take some really bad shots. Looks like he's pressing really hard right now to get Utah out of their little slump they're in right now. The Jazz are now 7-8, 1 game below 500, whereas the Sixers are now 10-7 on the season, and they are an undefeated 8-0 at home. Pretty good home record there for Philly. So as long as they get one of those top 4 seeds in the East, they should be pretty good going forward. Jimmy Butler did lead the 76ers in this one with 28 points on 12 of 15 from the floor, backed up by 23 from Joel Embiid. Something here is pretty interesting. Ben Simmons is taking a lot less shots here. He did have 8 points, 8 boards, and 8 assists in this game. Fultz with 6 points off the bench for the Sixers. His free throw form looks to be getting a little bit worse. He was patting the ball back and forth before he shot it. It's very strange. Something very interesting there. There's a report out that he might have injured his shoulder in a motorcycle accident before last season. Not sure if that's true or not, but if it is, it's very irresponsible. If it's not true, there's still something going on, because his free throw form is looking worse and worse by the game. So we'll see what happens there, what's really going on with his free throw shot and his shoulder, if it's really healthy or not going forward. Some more action from Friday night. We did have the Washington Wizards dropping yet another home game, this time to the Brooklyn Nets without their leading scorer, Karis LeVert. The Wizards are now 5-10 on the season. They are 3-4 at home, which is pretty disappointing. They just seem like a team that, again, that they're very dysfunctional. I said earlier in the season that I think Scott Brooks should be losing his job here sometime soon. I think he has lost that locker room. He's not properly motivating that team. They have too much talent to be 5 games below 500 so early in the season. The good thing is they do have a lot of time to turn things around. Not sure if they'll be able to with you have John Wall there, Dwight Howard, and Bradley Beal. Those guys, they don't have really good chemistry playing together so far. It can improve, as I mentioned before. Just not sure if they're going to be able to get it done with Scott Brooks as their head coach. The Brooklyn Nets were led in this one by 25 points from Spencer Dinwiddie, who I have said many times is the most underrated point guard in the NBA. Kind of sucks to see him on the bench there for Brooklyn. I hope they find a way to move him as the season progresses. They do have a plethora of point guards there that they can give rotation minutes to, whereas they can go ahead and let Spencer Dinwiddie go be free and fly somewhere else. They also did get 23 points from D'Angelo Russell. Some more action Friday night. We had the Memphis Grizzlies 112-104 over the Sacramento Kings, who are still one of the more surprising teams so early in the season. The Kings are now 8-7 on the season and 4-4 on the road, where the Grizzlies are now 9-5 and they are 6-1 at home. The Grizzlies did get 27 points from Jaren Jackson Jr., the rookie there, called him Triple J. He was 11-16 from the floor. Only 6 rebounds for someone that's almost 7 feet tall. You want to see more boards from him going forward, hopefully. And they also did get 19 points from Marc Gasol, 19 points and 15 boards for Marc Gasol in this one. The Kings did get 23 points and 10 assists from De'Aaron Fox, one of the most improved players in the NBA this season. He's growing a lot from his rookie year. It looks like he's a lot more confident offensively and knows how to find his spots on the floor, which is pretty good and also a good reason why the Kings are now 8-7 on the season. Surprising outcome from last night as well. The Minnesota Timberwolves are now 3-0 without Jimmy Butler. They won their 3rd straight game, this time over the Portland Trailblazers, who do have the 2nd best record in the West. Trailblazers now have a 2-game losing streak. They did drop a game to the Lakers early in the season. But the real story here is the Timberwolves. They just seem to be playing with a lot more energy now that Jimmy Butler's no longer in the building. Kind of sucks that one player can take that much air out of your team, especially when you have that many young talent. But it just goes to show a lot about their mental makeup. But they are playing pretty well now that he is gone. They are 7-9 on the season now, and they did get 23 points from Andrew Wiggins. Pretty quiet game from Karl Anthony Towns. He only had 14 points and 9 boards in this game, but they had 6 players in double figures. So when you have that many guys putting up double figures and you're shooting 50% from the floor, you're going to beat most teams on most nights. Whereas the Blazers, they had a pretty quiet game from their 2 stars. Damian Lillard with only 16 and CJ McCollum with 18. Lillard 5-18 from the floor in this one. A pretty bad shooting night there. As I mentioned before, the Blazers are now have a 2-game losing streak. The New Orleans Pelicans at home against the Knicks. They pick up this one 129-124 behind, I think, 43 points. Yeah, 43 points, 17 boards, and 5 assists from Anthony Davis. They also got 24 and 10 assists from Drew Holiday. Pretty good combination between those two. They have a pretty potent 1-2 punch there. The Knicks did get 30 points from Tim Hardaway Jr. in this one. I think he takes way too many shots for a team that has a lot of young talent that it needs to grow with. They should be getting more shots for Kevin Knox, in my opinion. But Tim Hardaway Jr., he is a scorer by nature. He's going to shoot the ball no matter what. He's never seen a shot he doesn't like. So it's going to be part of their season going forward until they get Porzingis back, if he does come back this season. Pelicans are now 8-7 on the year, 6-1 at home, where the Knicks are 4-12 on the season so far. In the last game of the night, we did have the Milwaukee Bucks running away from Chicago Bulls, 123-104. They had about another game with 6 players in double figures. They did have 3 players with over 20 points. Giannis with 23 and 13, 23 and 10, plus 8 assists from Chris Middleton, also 25 and 6 assists from Eric Bledsoe. And they shot the ball 50% from the floor, knocked down 18 threes, which is incredible. Whereas the Bulls only shot 43% from the floor. They did get 20 points from Justin Holiday. They got 21 points from Jabari Parker in his revenge game after the Bucks let him go in the offseason. He's taking a ton of shots in this one. He was pretty aggressive early on. He did have 15 points in the first quarter, but only had 6 points the rest of the way. The Bulls are now 4-12 on the year. They're not going to be very good as the season goes on, and the Bucks are now 11-4 and 7-1 at home. Looking forward to tonight's NBA action, we have the Nets visiting the Clippers. The Clippers are favored by 5 points in this one. I think that the Clippers will win this game. They are 9-5 on the season. They've been playing surprisingly well without having a bona fide superstar on their roster. But it goes to show that when you have a team full of players that know how to play together, good things can happen. And I think Clippers will take this one by at least 10 points. Also have the Sixers visiting the Hornets. Charlotte is favored by 2.5 in this one. I'm going to give the edge here to the Sixers. It seems like Jimmy Butler, now they have time to practice together. They are going to go on a little bit of a run here against a Charlotte team that I think can't hang with the Sixers offensively. We have the Hawks visiting the Pacers. Indiana's favored by 10.5 points. I think Indiana covers that spread pretty easily. We have a pretty good bounce back game from Oladipo. I expect them to put up more than 25 points in this one. Lakers visiting the Orlando Magic. Lakers are 8-6, and I think they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. The Magic are 7-8 on the season. Lakers are favored by 4.5 in this one. This is a little bit of a trap game for Los Angeles. I think the Orlando sneaks up on them and takes this one surprisingly by a pretty close score. Orlando can score pretty well, especially at home, and the Lakers have a problem with defense. I think that'll bite them in the butt here in this game. It's a trap game on this East Coast trip that the Lakers are currently on. I think they will drop this one and bring the record down to 8-7. Nuggets visiting the Pelicans and a potential NBA playoff preview here. Pelicans, as I mentioned before, are 8-7. The Nuggets are 10-5, but they have been on a little bit of a losing streak here. I think they've lost their last 4 games. They are the underdogs this one by 1.5. I think that Denver finds a way to win this game because they do have a lot of offense here. And Pelicans coming off a back-to-back, and I think they will drop this one to Denver tonight. The Jazz coming off a loss to the Sixers last night are taking on the Celtics in Boston. Boston's favored by 4 points. This one is on NBA TV at 7:30 tonight. I think Boston continues their winning streak and takes this one and sends Utah further down 2 games below 500. Utah has a lot of things they need to figure out. I think they need more practice time to get things together. Back-to-back like this but against the Sixers and Celtics, it's a pretty tough back-to-back to go on the road, but I think they do drop this one to the Celtics tonight. Raptors taking on the Bulls in Chicago. Raptors are favored by 8.5 points. I think Toronto wins this one pretty handily. They're coming off that loss to Boston last night. I think they will be rebounding well pretty here. Not sure if Kawhi Leonard will be playing in this one. He has been missing at least 1 game of back-to-back. So if he does play, this should be a pretty easy win. If he does not play, it will be an easy win as well, just not quite as easy. But I think Toronto still takes this one pretty easily. Warriors taking on the Mavericks in Dallas. The Warriors will still be without Steph Curry. He'll be missing the next 5 games to get his growing right. The Warriors are coming off a 1-game losing streak. They lost to Houston on Thursday. They are still 12-4 in the season and tops in the West. I think this is a pretty good chance for them to get things together. They've had some more practice since that whole Draymond Green and Kevin Durant dust up earlier in the week. I think the Warriors find a way to get things together and get their offense back on track and their defense as well, and they win this one pretty easily against Dallas. They're only favored by 3 points in this game. I think they cover that spread pretty handily. And in the last game of the night, we do have the Suns taking on the Thunder in Phoenix. The Thunder are favored by 5.5 points in this game. I think that they will win this one by double digits. They still have been playing pretty well, even though they won't be having Russell Westbrook. Not sure if he's out for this one as well. I'm thinking he will be out for this one, but Paul George has been on a little bit of a run the last couple games, and Phoenix is one of the worst teams in the NBA. So I think OKC finds a way to win this one by about 7 to 8 points or so. That is all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for tuning in to today's episode of The Pull Up. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on your notifications. That way, anytime that we do drop a new video, you are notified right away. Also, if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. Again, I am Tony Ramsey. This has been the NBA Pull Up for Saturday, November 17th. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.